this is it, my friend.
The end of the road.
It's the end of the motherfucking dance. This
Amazing.
is it.
Yeah.
We 90 episodes, whatever we've done.
We break down Made in America, the Soprano finale today. It's been a long road.
We have our final guest, the great David Chase.
Yeah. No, there's no other more appropriate guest for today than that.
So kind. I mean, listen, we started this thing. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't really know what we were doing. It was in the middle of the pandemic, the beginning of the pandemic. I want to thank the fans. Honestly, I fuck around, but I want to thank you guys. I hope we gave you a few laughs. You learned something. We hope we entertain you. That's what I hope we were able to do. I hope so. We've had a lot of listeners. Thank you for the Webby Award and sticking with us. And we had a great team that helped us. Of course, the great Jeff Sussman, our executive producer. Without him, got us started. And his, he had the wherewithal to do it. And he knew how to set us up because we didn't. Of course, Andy Verderam, who's the glue that keeps this thing together. Richard Young, our social media guy, Lisa Perkins and Kate Trapani, our publicist, Dave Raphael. It's a big help to us, Matt Cisneros. My family, I want to thank my wife, Laura, who, believe me, sets all this stuff up. And Sierra has been there from the beginning, my daughter, Sierra Schirripa, and Bria Schirripa, who helps me post stuff. So I want to thank them a lot. And you know me, I'm not the easiest guy. And they put up with me. So I want to say fuck you to Robert De Niro one more time and fuck Pat Cooper with a big giant fucking dildo in his ass. I want to thank all our guests.
What?
I want to thank all our guests, David Chase, and all the guests that came on, all the cast and the crew, and all the people that had made the show a success. I want to thank Ty Verderam, who was a big help to us, part of our team. Also, Michael, seriously, I want to thank you. It was a pleasure. We had a lot of laughs. It was a lot of work, but we did something good here. So we had some super fans, Julie Cantu and Erin Levin Hitchcock. I want to thank them, and all you people out there. Seriously, I don't want to get schmaltzy here, but thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Steve, because I'm glad Andy convinced me to hire you because I can't imagine doing this with anybody else. Andy and I we were on the fence for all. No, really, I could not have. This never would have worked without you and me doing it together. Your intelligence, your humor, your tenacity, your willingness to just go with it, and your friendship. It's been a lot of fun. We met. We didn't know what the hell we were doing when we started. Literally did not, and we figured it out, and we managed to have fun. And it's been. I think we did something really special. So thank you, Andy. You've been just amazing. You were. I don't know how you kept so level-headed dealing with us, and just whatever needed to be done, you always did it, and you did it without issue. You did it, with good cheer and level-headedness, where there wasn't a lot of level-headedness in the hosts of the show. So thank you, man. You're a pleasure, and you're really great at what you do. And Jeff, for your generosity and your vision. Those two qualities, this show never would have happened. I appreciate that. I really want to thank the fans for your loyalty and your enthusiasm and your excitement. This was a journey for me in a lot of ways because I got on social media right around the same time we started doing this, and I started communicating with fans directly. And part of me wanted to say a lot of shit this last episode that I didn't talk about during the podcast because we went through the election and there was a lot of political turmoil, and I started voicing my opinions publicly And we made a decision never to talk about it on the podcast. Like, Trump to me is my De Niro. How you feel about De Niro, I feel maybe more. And I was thinking about going into all that, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it at that. What I will say is I was exposed to a lot of fans. 99% of you are incredible, but I was exposed to a lot of fans who responded to some of my opinions with a lot of hatred and a lot of venom and a lot of intolerance and things like that. And I'm all I want to say to you is, if anything we did here somehow touched you a little bit, I'm not going to say I'm right and you're wrong, or you should think my way, because I'm not going to say that. But to just somehow open your mind a little bit and your heart, and not just knee-jerk reaction to things that are different, or things that you've been, I don't know, things that you're conditioned to not like, or that you've gotten used to not accepting, and not being open-minded to other people's opinions and other people's way of life and how they express themselves. That's all I'm going to say. Besides that, we love you very much. Okay, Steve, we have a very, very special guest. Our final guest for the final episode. It could not be better. It could not be more appropriate. If you're watching this podcast, which you are, obviously, this man needs absolutely no introduction. So please welcome David Chase.
There he is.
Hi, David.
Hey, David.
How you doing?
How are you?
Long time no see.
Yes, thank you for doing this. So we've got, David, we've been, since you've been on last, we've been kind of collecting a bunch of questions throughout the podcast and writing them down until we talk to you today. So if you don't mind, it's going to be, we've got a bunch of questions for you.
Good.
I
hope I have answers. But
listen, in the first 2 seasons, right, so much of the show was based on Livia, right? And what were your plans for the show if Nancy Marchand had lived? Were there plans?
There was a plan. She died in the middle of season 2, didn't she? I don't know. I really don't know.
Yes.
My plan was, in fact, it was starting. It had something to do with airline tickets that Tony had given her to go to Florida. And they were of course stolen, and she got busted with those tickets. And so she was going to testify against him in court. They were going to get him on a RICO, and his mother was going to testify against him. And that was going to keep that horrible relationship going. That they were, speaking to each other, but not, the way it was. But then she just became too ill to do that.
Those were the tickets that came in the Davies Scatino bust out.
I think you remember more about it than I do. I mean, I remember there was airline tickets and something else.
I watched this morning. I watched the Made in America, and it always gets obviously it's the last episode, but the ending is all you always hear about it. But the episode might be the best episode of the whole series in a way. It took me a really long time to break it down and go through it scene by scene. I wrote more notes on that than any other episode that we've broken down. It's really, really good. And your direction is lovely. Like after watching, I wish you directed more episodes. Like the composition, the way there's a certain, it's almost kind of reminds me a little of Kubrick, like your style a little bit, the way you place the camera and the way you sometimes move the camera and stuff like that.
Oh, thank you. But all credit to Alec. Really, I mean, he was, we did the first show together and we did the last show together. And we talked about Kubrick all the way during making the last show.
Really?
When they were setting up or whatever. So much so that the script supervisor, who was not Christine, would say, "You guys, pay attention to what's going on here." The director and the cinematographer were bullshitting about Tarkovsky and Kubrick and
Well, there's that elegance and that there's something in the composition and
Yeah,
there's
he's great.
symmetry and it really came through. The title was that Might in America? Was that an idea for a title of the series at one point? Did you
No,
consider that?
no, it was a title that there was a woman who headed, I don't know what you call it, marketing department, Courtney somebody, um, who made that title up for the last season for that poster of Jim with the
Really?
Statue of Liberty. Yeah. And so then when it came time to name that episode, I figured just call it that.
All right. It's a really effective title. I mean, because a lot of the themes that I really saw more going back and looking at the show for this podcast really kind of come to fruition and just are really come full circle in this episode on a lot of levels. Like on the dream of the immigrant, coming to America and success and generations kind of doing better than the ones before them. The war, which is all over, the Iraq war, the Gulf War, which is all over that episode with oil and that's a big part of that theme. Consumerism, materialism, as something to aspire to, and climbing up the ladder, and kind of the hollowness of that all seemed to come into play in the last season, but in the last episode in particular. So,
oh, great. Yeah, I mean, consumerism was kind of, in a way, consumerism was in a way kind of the theme of the whole show.
Right.
I think I thought about this a couple of months ago. My memory is not what it used to be. And I believe that I thought to myself that the show was about money and death when you boiled it all down.
Yeah. A lot of death, that's for sure. David, was there a character that you felt you killed off too soon? Was there anybody that you regretted after killing him off and going, oh, maybe I should have kept him around?
Wow, that's a good question. Let me think. Is there anybody that I missed? Well, no. Well, I could say, yeah, Pussy, but it wasn't too, it was too soon because we all loved the guy and we love the actor also. But it was, it made for a great story. And that's, what could I say? Anybody else that I regretted killing off? I don't think so. I can't think of anybody. It probably was, right?
Do you feel that Tony got help through his therapy?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I don't know that I could say how. I think maybe his therapy left him more open to some of the, I hesitate to use this word, but I will, to some of the Buddhism that started to pop up in the last year or so. After he had that vision of being in California, I think his therapy kind of prepared him for that, or like it made him more open to that kind of thing. And a lot of people, a lot of fans say, or critics say, it got darker. He got darker and darker and darker. Everybody seems to feel that way, except I don't.
You don't feel that way?
No.
Do you feel he got the opposite? Like he got lighter, or it's just this is kind of part of who he was?
He didn't get lighter. He may have gotten more troubled.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he was more of an asshole than he'd ever been. I don't think he was, the first season, he was younger and it was the first season. But I just think he got more interesting.
Well, that's for sure.
Now, I can't say this positively. Maybe it was something we were doing that people said it was darker. Well, you know what? We did a lot of talk about terrorism.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I mean, it wasn't about that, but we did a lot of talk about terrorism and politics. But also, I think Jim was getting darker.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, he was I mean, he was kind of burnt out. Like, I think, I mean, you didn't see it in his performance, but I'm just saying,
No.
in general, after, the last 9 episodes took 9 months, I think Jim just had it, which is why I think for a couple of years he just basically didn't do anything.
Well, but his face was darker. His expression, his resting expression was, dark, and there was stuff going on there, as we all know.
So that report, that study of criminal personality by I guess the doctor or researcher's name was Yochelson, that is referenced in The Second Coming, where Melfi really thinks about maybe the futility of treating a sociopath or psychopath, and that they can use therapy actually to justify and almost embolden their, whatever dark, negative activities and negative things. Was that didn't really influence you per se? You brought that in there to kind of give Melfi a storyline or give Melfi a way out of this relationship or question this relationship?
Yeah. I don't believe that therapy made him a better criminal.
You don't believe that?
No. How would that happen? I don't think so. But I guess I would have to go back to the foundations of the show. And I believe that every character, maybe there was a few that were not children, not minors. Every adult character on that show had made a deal with the devil. Starting with him, and you could kind of call him the devil if you wanted to, but starting with him and including Melfi. What happened was I was living in Santa Monica when I was writing the show, and my neighbor down the street was a psychiatrist, and he was walking his huge dog. I don't know what it was, and I stopped him and I said, "Listen, I'm writing this pilot, and if a gangster came to you in therapy, would you go to the police about what he told you, or would that fall under the whatever you call it,
Client privilege.
Client privilege, yeah." And he said, "Well, only if the patient said to me someone was going to be hurt, then I would go to the police, technically." And when he said that technically thing, I thought, you piece of shit. Really? Okay. I know. See, that's to me, as always, I had a couple of really great therapists, but the last one was magnificent. And Melfi was based on her. But one of my gripes about psychotherapy was that there was always this exculpatory conversation. The patient never did anything wrong. They never say to the patient, what's the matter with you? How could you say that to your wife or whatever? Well, you have to look back and think about how your father talked to your mother, there was never any accounting. And I always felt that way, including about myself. And so when she took Tony on, I kept thinking, I think we used that dialogue. He said, what if I tell you something that is like bad? She said, well, if you tell me somebody's going to be hurt, I have to go to the police. Technically. So that was her deal with the devil.
But I did like with Melfi because at times Melfi really prodded him. She didn't just sit back. She was at times aggressive, very aggressive.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I like that. I like that about her.
That's true. Yeah. I like that about her. We all did. And Lorraine did a great job of that.
Yeah.
However, the basic situation was that she was treating a murderer. Now, okay, so if she was a lawyer and he was on trial, she'd have to defend him, even if she thought he was a murderer. So that's the way it is. But that's some kind of a deal with the devil as far as human relations are concerned.
You know, I certainly believe, and I've told this to Michael a million times. I mean, the most contradictory character to me is Carmela. I almost don't like Carmela at all. I mean, you know, even in the final episode when they're in the safe house, you know, and she's got all the jewelry on, she's still, you know, she's jealous of Hunter when she sees Hunter, and Hunter's in medical school, and she's jealous of her. I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, she knew where the money was coming from. She knew everything, but still played the holier than thou.
Yeah.
More than a lot of the guys who were just accepted that's who they were. They were murderers. They were bad people who did bad things.
I don't think the other wives had her particular take on it. And,
no, I agree.
And you probably know more about this than I do. I don't think the wives of real wise guys have that take.
Yeah.
You know, this started out as a television show. And I came to that show from the network. And at the network, she would have had to be the greatest person in the world. Trying to help it. You know, so a little bit of that stuff was still in me. I couldn't cut her loose.
Yeah. Did Ralphie kill Pyomai?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
I thought so. I
think so. He did. Tony had it right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when he was beating up on Ralphie for killing Pyomai, it was really about that girl that he killed.
Tracy.
Yeah.
The scene in the desert when he does peyote and he says, I what does he say? I get it. What does he get?
Well, you know.
I don't know if I know.
What he was talking about specifically was he got it that Christopher was a negative influence on his run of luck or his run in life. And now that he was gone, he started winning at the tables.
All right.
And when he took peyote, he saw that kid could have done him in, that he waited too long. He saw many things, and some of it was not related to Christopher at all. It was he got it, you know. The
bigger picture, whatever that is, related to Hal Holbrook in the hospital. He kind of puts that together. I mean, I was reminded of that scene when Hal Holbrook's character, I forget, Dr. Schwinn was his name, talks about kind of basically the Buddhist theory of shunyata, like interdependence, interconnectedness, non-duality, all those things. That's basically what he's talking about.
Is that about the butterfly? Wait.
No, it's a soup of molecules, and it's only an illusion that we're separate entities and things like that. And really, the true nature of reality is non-dual on a universal level, and that kind of reminded me of that. That's what I was saying.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what anything good that one realizes from mushrooms or LSD or anything like that is in that vein. And that's why when it goes too far, it's called the dissolution of the ego. You know, you just, you're gone as you.
Right. And
that's why people have bad experiences too.
That's also Buddhism, is like, because Buddhism basically is the ego is just a construct that, you know, it's our own kind of subjective delusion of who we are. And part of, practicing and studying Buddhism is to kind of understand that. That's why we're trying to get Steve to take LSD or something, or mushrooms, because he's never done it.
Took mushrooms. He took a whole
He had a whole plan.
David, I've asked you this before. I'm going to ask you again. Mayonnaise and eggs, significant. Is there any meaning there? It's all over the show. Numerous times mayonnaise. Numerous times with the eggs. There's got to be something.
Well, I'll have to do acid and find out again.
I get it.
What we were talking about at one point, there seems like there's subtle allusions to Phil Leotardo possibly being in the closet. Or
Yeah.
That's intentional, right? Some of those
Illusions were intentional.
were intentional. So his like revulsion and the kind of vehemence he has towards Vito comes from that self-hatred.
Yeah, but I don't think Phil was reflective enough to know what was going on inside him.
No, I mean subconsciously, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. He wasn't reflective enough. No.
You know what really got us was when Doc sings The Girl from Ipanema to him. Right? What was his name? Doc
Santoro. When Phil comes out of the hospital and there's a party for him, and Doc Santoro sings "Tall and Tan," and when he sees Phil, he starts singing "The Girl from Ipanema," which I thought was one of the funniest things in the whole show.
I don't even recall that.
Yeah. And yes, it was obvious when he came out of the closet in the hotel room, but that really tipped us off when he sang.
Yeah, when he shuts off the bodybuilding competition, that's.
Another thing too. I remember that Matt wrote that was very funny. About a lifeguard. I don't know.
David, now Kelly in season 6 kind of just comes out of nowhere. Christopher's girlfriend after Adriana was gone, and we just see Kelly out of nowhere. We don't know any background about her or anything. I mean, was that intentional? I mean, we never saw the two be anything.
I don't know what any of the other writers saw. I mean, you're saying this to me now, and I never considered that. She's just a woman who he met somewhere. I don't know.
Gotcha. Because that just kind of took us by surprise. All of a sudden, she's pregnant. I mean, that was one thing that, and the thing about twins, is there any significance? You have the Parisi twins. You had Ginny and Gene Cusimano, and the Blundetto twins. Anything there?
That's a good question.
Do you have twins in your family? Was that something common to your family? No.
Two of any of those people wouldn't be good. Let me think. Was there? Well, I don't know. This is going to be hard to explain, but twins are like bad drama in a way. You know what I mean? Like soap operas often have twins.
Lots of twins, yeah.
Lots of twins. And I think that's what we were heading for, was deliberately corny or something.
Watching the finale today really felt more hopeful than, I don't remember it being that hopeful. And today when I watched it, I was like, oh, okay. It's not at all what was in my head, because I watched it about a year ago. And this time I watched it and I was like, oh, no, this is about like hope for the future, the kids. That's what I was talking about, the immigrant dream, that your kids will do better and they'll become, like they said in The Godfather, doctors and lawyers and senators and things like that. And a lot of that hope came through AJ, even though he's, flip-flopping all over the place between going into the army and now being a producer or whatever. But somehow I watched it today. I was like, he's going to be okay, that kid.
He wasn't going to be Tony.
See, he's not going to be Tony.
No, he's not going to be Tony. He's probably not going to be a movie producer either, but although that's kind of evil in itself. Yeah, here's what I was going to say. Whenever I read stuff about the show, mostly fan stuff, if I read it, they hate AJ. Everybody hates AJ.
Oh.
And I don't understand it. He was I know he was a fuck up, and he was a teenager.
Yeah.
I never got it. And, the thing when they beat up that African kid and he stood back from that and you could see how repulsed he was, that was a very important moment. Now, he should have done what? Gone in there and saved the African kid? I don't know. But I just never, I thought Robert was so good at it.
So good.
Starting from the beginning, and I just never understood that. I just thought he's a troubled kid, like half of the teenagers in America, or
I
more.
think he was troubled. I think he was also a little bit of a con man. He was spoiled, very spoiled.
Yeah. Definitely spoiled. No doubt
about it. So was Meadow early on, and then she kind of grew out of it and became, a wonderful woman, as we see her growing. AJ was still a comment, even in the final episode. So he trades in the SUV for a BMW. You know what I mean?
Right. But justifies it.
Well, wait a second. His parents bought him that BMW. He didn't trade anything in.
Right.
Absolutely.
Tony got that BMW somewhere. Yeah.
And it does 23 on the highway, like he said. He's kind of okay with it. One of the most beautiful scenes in the finale is when he starts making out with Rhiannon there. There's something, because it comes out of a place of tension and what he's going through, and we know it's the last episode, and the Dylan song is playing, and they're in the car and they're in the woods, and they were friends, and then they just look at each other and just kind of give in. And that there was something very beautiful and hopeful in that too. It's just like,
oh, you're reminding me of it now. See, have I looked at that show? Have I seen that show? I may have seen it in the intervening years, but couple of things. It was you're right. I mean, I'm glad you feel that way. But you put a Dylan song on anything, and it raises up quite a bit. That song, that's a very negative song. Well, is it negative? No, it's not. It talks about our society and how corrupt it is.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what Bob Dylan would say.
Waking up to that fact, maybe waking up to the corruption and seeing it for what it is, and then kind of.
Yeah. And you're right. It was a really beautiful scene. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interrupted by the fire. It's short-lived, that moment, but right. And then it becomes something else equally as powerful, but very foreboding and very, scary. When and it's a huge explosion, and it's, and the way he
car melts, kind of like
the song, slows down.
Ooh, yeah, right.
It's very heavy, that moment. It's
David. To me, the most evil character on the show, of everyone, guys and girls, was Janice. Pure evil, manipulative. She's a murderer in her own right. Always making a move. Always, every conversation's a chess match. Do you think she was more evil or Olivia? She was certainly her mother's daughter, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. And her father's daughter too. But we didn't see her father really much. Was she more evil than Olivia? I guess I'd have to say yes, because Olivia, came from a time and a part of New Jersey that, was not very enlightened. They weren't not a lot of money, but they were working class people. And so there's a lot Olivia didn't know. Janice had every opportunity. She was a Hindu. She was all this stuff. She'd been all around the world, and she still was very corrupt. Yeah.
So Olivia, you feel it was just kind of, I don't want to say ignorance, but just she was.
No. She was, bad. Olivia had a criminal mind in a certain way. Now, she was based on my mother. I've always said that. And my mother, her whole thing was the tyranny of the weak, right? That somebody was always picking on her or didn't understand her or things were not right. And Olivia had all that. But I always felt, had my mother been a male, she would have been a criminal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
But my mother, if she was based on my mother had to quit high school after her freshman year. She went to work for, I don't know, Prudential or something. She didn't come from a happy household. So all that contributed to living.
Trickled down, yeah. If Tony, and I'm not going to ask you this now, but if Tony did die, who would have taken over the family? I mean, it was kind of scarce. There wasn't many people left.
Yeah, you'd have to ask HBO because who are they going to pay? There wasn't anybody left. No. That's really true. I mean, I saw that and I kind of thought, oh my God. Do we believe that? Well, where was the family really? Do we believe that Paulie could have run that?
No. He didn't really want to, right? He didn't
want to. It doesn't mean he wouldn't have done it, but could he have done it?
I don't know mentally if he could have done it. You know what? You know what's we were talking earlier about the shots in the show. When Tony talks to him about outside the pork store and he's got the sun visor and Tony walks away and that shot with Paulie with the sun visor and the cat comes into frame, just lays there. It's just a beautiful shot. Yeah. Flat out beautiful.
Wow.
It is.
You guys are making me do a terrible thing, was laugh at my own material. So good. I apologize. But I haven't seen a lot of these things.
Yeah, you should. Because there's little moments too that are not, so much like part of the story, but it's just very evocative. Like at the meal after Bobby's funeral at Vesuvio, right? First, it's shot from like behind the buffet line, and you're panning across everybody who's just ravenous. Everybody's really hungry and talking about food and whatever. But then there's a shot. It's a wide shot, and it's Carmela's sitting down and Tony's standing up, and I think one of them has a plate or both of them. Yeah. It's in front of the Vesuvius mural.
And Tony's staring at the volcano. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That shot was incredible.
In my office, that I love that shot.
That shot.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that shot.
I mean, to me, but when I watched it, I was like, all right, what is this shot? It just made me think, we're like a facsimile of Italian Americans, this is what we have, it's like Vesuvio we're eating in an Italian restaurant, but Italy is a mural.
What is Tony thinking when he's looking at that volcano?
Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't in the plan for the day. And then I said to Alec, let's get a shot. I want to get a shot of them looking at the volcano. What? Why? Let's just do it. One of the guys, I forget who, his son says, Pop, they got, I don't know what it was.
Carlo. Roast pork. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a scene when.
By the way, can I interrupt you? Yeah. I said, you're making me laugh at my own material. It's not all my material.
Oh, no, I understand.
And a lot of really talented.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Yeah. David, in the scene, there's a scene in the last episode where they finally straighten out with New York and they're allowed to go back to their house, the Sopranos. Tony is carrying a suitcase in his right hand. In his left hand, he has a canned ham. Now that was done purposely, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And any significance or just it's funny? what is it? A canned ham of all things he could be carrying.
I mean, I don't know that I thought it through that much, but I would tell you that they were in that other house and there was a canned ham, and we can't leave that. We got to take the ham. We wouldn't let it go to waste. So that's terrible.
Right.
I think it was so great. I just caught that.
Oh, God. I forgot all about that.
I don't think Tony, for 1 second, regretted killing Christopher. Do you? He killed him, and it was like a monkey off his back. And I don't think for 1 second, and that's just my opinion, that he felt bad, he cared. That was that. Wiped the slate.
It's hard for me to think of Tony of not having. Well, he regretted everything. So it's hard for me to think of Tony and not having a moment, or certainly not in that episode. He didn't. I bet it came across his consciousness, yeah, but not much, because well, his problems and the writer's problems are two different things. But because Michael was so good and the character was so interesting, in real life, Tony would have whacked him much earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, after his second relapse or something, that would be it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But we didn't want to do that. We couldn't. Well, I don't mean we could have, but just didn't want to do it. But I see, I feel that if Tony felt remorse about that, even for a second, he would also think, after all I did for that little shit, that he betrayed me in a sense, and he would have betrayed me if push came to shove.
Oh yeah,
he would definitely would have dined me to the feds.
All these people, like we're talking about the funeral. There's so many funerals in the show and in real life in these people's world. They're bad people that do bad things to regular people, not just each other. And I think the death is so nothing to them, which is why they're eating like gavones. I mean, they all like Bobby. I mean, the guy was murdered in a horrible way, shot down, and yet the funeral, the cemetery, boom, let's go eat. Forgotten, move on. Though I did think Janice showed she really cared for Bobby. In the scene where Tony goes to visit her, brings her the pastries from Ferrara, I think she showed that she did care for him.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
I think, it was in that scene, as I recall, it was mixed in with a lot of self-interest subjects too, but yeah, she did. And I don't think people, in real life, you go to somebody's funeral and there's food afterwards somewhere. I don't think people sit around thinking about the dead person.
No, I agree. It's horrible. Funerals to me, and I've talked about it at length on this show, it's fucking barbaric, David. A wake is barbaric to me. You got your friend, your relative, they're laying in a fucking box. It's like a cocktail party. People aren't even paying attention. They're laughing and joking. It's just horrible, horrible, which is why I'm not having a funeral. And Michael's going to host.
That's a relief because I wasn't going to come.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you.
You're making me think when I was like 15, 16 years old, I'm having dinner with my mother. My father was working at that night. And somebody had died, and she wanted me to go to the funeral. And I was 15 or 16 years old. I said, I don't want to go to the funeral. And she said, better men than you have gone to funerals. I said, that was, yeah, all right. So I said, it's barbaric. What? It's barbaric to stay, with the body and the thing there.
Yeah.
And it really is, but it really is. But it must have been, I wonder when it started in the history of humanity. I mean, the great apes, for example, a lot of animals have their own kind of funeral, right? Where they recognize the death in some way. rabbits, I think, jump up and down on the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But certainly primitive man, I remember reading this in college. They made the body red, the face of the body red, so it looked like they were still alive.
Ugh.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a weird thing.
I believe so.
Did you, is it true that you had, your original ending was, you considered the junior shooting Tony? Was that something you were thinking of as an ending, or no, that was never planned as the ending? No.
We shot it, I think. Didn't we? That was the throw, because there were people, somebody within the organization was giving out information to the press. And even if that wasn't the case, they were always trying to find out what we were doing. So we would do that occasionally, to shoot something that we weren't going to use. But
there wasn't, you didn't, there's rumors out there, which I don't believe to be true. I talked to Terry about it a while back, that people were saying that there was numerous endings filmed. Is that true?
No.
There's one ending. What we saw.
I think, was there a fake ending?
No, I think what I do think what happened, David, I think when Junior did shoot Tony in season 6.
Yeah.
I believe you shot one where it was Phil who shot him. There was a fake one there. Some fake.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That was to throw people off.
Yeah.
Because we knew that he and Phil were not friends, right? That Phil had a motive for killing him. So we thought, well, that'll make sense to the press or to the fans or whatever. So they won't tumble to what we're really doing.
And the crew didn't get the script.
What?
The crew didn't get the script with the ending, right? Didn't they? The last scene was Tony raking the leaves. Is that?
No, the last scene, was it? I don't
know. That's what I heard.
I think the last scene, we did a scene where he and Silvio went into the Bada Bang, or I don't recall now. We did do some dummy scenes to throw suspicion on.
That I don't. Have you heard this conspiracy on the internet? Rhiannon, AJ's girlfriend, was a plant by Phil's gang. So when she was at home at the Soprano house when they were sitting on the couch eating potato chips or whatever, and Carmela says, "We're going to Holston's tonight." She knew about it. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't.
You heard that? No, it's a big one.
Really?
That she was involved in. Yeah.
But why would she do that? I mean, what's her connection to Phil's people?
I don't know. I didn't make it up. I'm just it's out there, pretty heavy,
Yeah, I don't know about that. Did you go to Holstein's as a kid? I mean, because it's been there for 80 years, right?
No. In Colwell, where I grew up, there was a place called Grunning's, which was exactly like Holstein's. But Holstein's was picked just because on a location scout. We went to various kinds of places, I think.
It's a cool location, yeah.
Well, you certainly put them on the map because there's still people from all over the world come there. Literally from all over the world.
Do you know that when we went back to do the movie, I went into Holstein's and I didn't know that they had Holstein's hats or something like that. So I wanted one. The guy said, we were talking and he charged me $15.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nicole, who I work with, she brings that up all the time. She couldn't believe it.
You gave him millions of dollars of publicity.
Yeah.
David, you recently did an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, right? Mm-hmm. Now, did you have an issue with the way you were quoted about the end of the show? Because it was a big thing that got picked up all over the place.
Well, I did have an issue because I read the thing, I don't know how many times. I never said what happened to Tony. I said what the two alternates were that I was going to do, what I had discarded years before. I don't know. I really don't know where that comes from. I mean, this whole thing is so childish in a way. I read that thing. I thought, where does it say that I said Tony was dead? Where does it say anything like that? I said that there was a plan that he was going to go into New York and be killed. Okay. Didn't do that.
Yeah.
It was a plan. I don't know. I forget what else. But I talked about things that were rejected.
And he took it as that. Well, clickbait.
No, he didn't. No, you know what? That whole thing was done. He asked me to do that. That guy Scott asked me to do what do they call it? A master class or something at Chapman University Film School. So I was addressing a bunch of a pretty large group of young people, and I was he was prodding me. He was asking me questions like you are, and I was answering and talking to them about, hopefully, about the realities of Hollywood and stuff like that. And that's how that came about. That was not a one-on-one interview.
Oh, okay. So you were in front of a big group.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
I would never say it anyway, but of course not in front of a big group.
Any Soprano movies, series anymore?
Any other Soprano movies? You know, I said once before there weren't going to be any more. And then, you know, when that movie was planned and was shot, there was no plan to have it say a Sopranos movie. They put that on there.
Gotcha.
And I was so tired of arguing with them. I said, it was really more about Dickie Moltisanti. It wasn't, you know, in my mind. Anyway, I don't think so. I don't think so. They are allegedly interested in doing a limited series, 6 episodes to go from the end of the movie to the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm. That's a long span of time, though.
Right, but I think what they want, or people want, is Tony gets made, Tony's first hit, you know.
Yeah. That's not easy.
Huh?
That's not easy.
To do that?
No.
Well, I just mean, it is easy.
It's not easy to do it well.
What? Yeah.
It's not easy to do it well. You know, the takeaway for me from the last scene is the line that AJ repeats. Didn't you say, remember, you know, appreciate the good times? It's important to remember that.
Mm.
And that life is precious, life is short, the fragility of it and all that. That's what I got this morning when I watched it.
Well, part of me, you're absolutely right. And part of me would say that's bad writing because it was stated so bluntly. And yet people didn't
talk about it.
Didn't hear it. You know?
No, not at all.
Listen, I told you last time, I believe Tony Soprano is alive and well. That's what I believe. I want to believe that. I want to believe he's back together with his family and things are good and AJ's straightened out and his daughter's going to be married. And that's what I want to believe.
Well, there is probably a universe where that is true.
Yeah.
You know, there's our universe and then there's alternate universes in which that probably is true.
Well, listen, is there anything before we wrap it up that you want to just say to the fans, or just as you know, this is our last episode. This you know, you've been on before, and the fans really love the fact that you've been so generous with your time and talked about it so much. Anything you want to just sign off on here?
Well, the whole word fans, you know, kind of weird, but I'm not weird, but I am just so appreciative of the fact that people want to ask me about that ending, even though, you know, it's like, okay, that they're still not interested. I'm really appreciative of that. And it's hard, maybe it's hard to sound appreciative when you're talking to a reporter and, you know, But just the whole thing that me personally, I was just a really lucky person. And mainly because I got to work with so many talented people, honest to God. You were in that writer's room, and I'm not just talking about the writers. But just, it was a phenomenon. How often does that happen?
Yeah.
And I just, look, if people think the show got darker, there's nothing I can, nothing I'm going to say. But if they think that after our conversation today, maybe they'll go back and look at that scene again and the music and see what happens. But I think there's millions of them, and I thank them all for their interest.
Well,
And I thank everybody that, I have friendships that survive that, and it was great. It was just a really great experience.
It was great for us too. A great
Same
moment.
here.
Great moment in our lives that'll never happen again. So I want to thank you, David, for everything. And
Thank you for everything.
we'll see you soon, my friend. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.
All right, man. Take
Thanks,
care.
buddy.
Thank you, David.
You take care. There you have it, folks. The great David Chase was so kind to come on again. And I love talking to David.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's it, man. Let's take a break and get into this final episode of The Sopranos.
All right, so here we are. Let's Made in America, written by David Chase and directed by David Chase. David only directed 2 episodes. The first one, the pilot, and the last one. And unfortunately, I wasn't in either one of them. So I never got to
Wow. I was only in the first one.
Work with him, yeah.
This is the 30th writing credit he got for the show. This won the Emmy that year for best drama script. David, in his interview, mentioned Alex Sakharov was a DP and a big part, and DP of the pilot, director of photography, a big part of the look and the camera work, of course.
Yeah, and a good guy and very talented guy. Yeah.
Very, very talented. This Made in America aired for the first time June 10th, 2007, a historic day in television history. 11.9 million viewers, which was the largest since the season 5 premiere. Made in America obviously can mean made man in America. We talked a little bit about, the themes about the American dream and consumerism and all those things. One fan wrote in, "I am a nice dream" is an anagram for Made in America, that this whole episode is a dream. I am a nice, wrote into Ron's website, Ron, superfan Ron, who does the Soprano autopsy. He wrote it on that, I saw. The DGA, now this is the infamous cut to black. David wanted it to cut to black and just end there. No credits. And the DGA, the Directors Guild of America, forbade that and said you have to have credits.
They wouldn't allow him to do that.
They would not allow him to do that because, you are, in a production, you are technically, contractually obliged when you make a deal with the unions to have credits.
Now,
we're very specific about those things.
I've talked about it before, but we watched this together for the first time at the Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale, right, or Hollywood, Florida. We were the night before at Foxwoods. Then we took a private plane down there and hosted about 500 high rollers, and 10,000 people showed up in the casino, and it was a wonderful, wonderful night. Even Stevie Van Zandt was impressed. He said, if you want to know what it's like to be a rock star, here it is. I mean, Stevie, who's played all over the world in front of, 100,000 people, well, he was impressed of the turnout. And we we took pictures with the fans, and then we went to a back room, 9 of us. We had drinks, we had champagne and food, and we sat and watched it together. And it was myself, you, Artie Bucco, John Ventimiglia, Arthur Nescarella, Carlo, Lorraine Bracco, Dr. Melfi, Jim, of course, Tony Soprano, Stevie Van Zandt, Silvio, and Paulie Walnuts.
Speaking of Paulie Walnuts, I spoke to Tony. We FaceTimed yesterday, and he, we wanted to have Tony on, and he's retired. He's in Florida, so then he doesn't use Zoom. He's not online,
Yeah, he doesn't have a cell phone either.
That wasn't going to happen. But he did say he wants to send his love to all the fans, and he's very touched about all your interest and inquiries and questions and comments regarding him, showing your love for him, because I know a lot of you wanted him on and you kept asking about him, and your interest really touched him. And he just sends his love, and he's doing well. I'm going to see him real soon.
That's fantastic. And he is a lot of people's favorite character, including mine.
Tony Sirico.
We open up, we're at the Safe House. Now, it starts out with the organ music, right? And it kind of sounds like funeral music.
And he's on a weird pillow, right? And his eyes are closed. You're right. That's Vanilla Fudge. You keep me hanging on. Vanilla Fudge was managed by the Lucchese family.
Oh, were they? Because, Carmine Appice, we used to call him Carmine Appice. He was from my neighborhood. And when I was growing up and I was younger, he's older than me, and I've met Carmine. He's great. Great guy, and he's with Leslie Gold. Remember Leslie Gold on the radio?
Yeah.
They've been together for a long time, and I met him through her, and they're both wonderful people. And it was hard to believe, because, you're in the neighborhood. Carmine Appice, he's from around here. Oh, bullshit, like that kind of thing. Him and his brother. His brother was also a drummer. His brother's 11 years younger, but they're from Bensonhurst, originally from Bensonhurst.
Interesting. So they were managed, and Led Zeppelin, when Led Zeppelin first came to America in 1969, the first time they were on tour, they opened on a lot of the dates for Vanilla Fudge.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the keyboard is organ music. It sounds like a funeral. He's laying there. We hear Keep Me Hanging On plays. We hear our good buddy Jim Kerr from Q1043 here in New York City.
Beloved New York rock DJ. So actually has the first voice you hear in the Soprano finale is Jim Kerr.
And he did not know. He did not know that until he watched it himself.
He didn't know he was going to open the episode.
No, he did not.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And just a little side note here. Tony Soprano wakes up, got himself a gun. Woke up this morning, got himself a gun in the first scene of this film.
There you go. A lot of little things in this one. We're in the parking lot by the airport. Tony and Paulie are sitting in a van. They're waiting for Agent Harris. Of course, Paulie is, as always, has no patience. So
there's a storm brewing, wind, cold. There's been lots of imagery of storms in the past. That night when they're in Vesuvio, the Soprano family says, remember the times that are good.
Yeah.
That was a storm, and we hear that later in this episode. But the storm's brewing. The music is Denise by Randy and the Rainbows. Mostly Italian guys from Maspeth, Queens, Randy and the Rainbows. And Denise has a particular significance to David, his wife.
David Chase's wife is named Denise. And
Denise.
Tony is talking about, I thought you weren't coming. He's talking about the terrorists. He's giving them some information. He's trying to get Harris to give him the location where Phil Leotardo is.
And he's saying it happens all the time. And my son says it happens all the time. Is he right? He's almost as worried about terrorism as he is about the New York family, it seems.
And he tells him the reason I called is those two Arabs I turned you on to. I remember my nephew, meaning Christopher, mentioned the bank where they had an account, the Minter First Merchants Bank. Now, we had
Jason Minter,
David's assistant. That was his name. That's his name. So David gave him a little shout out there. And Tony's reaching. Tony's trying to get information. And he tells him, you're overreaching. Tony says, my kid's obsessed with this shit, always making a molehill out of it. Instead of a mountain out of a molehill.
Right. He's making a molehill.
You know, and then Harris's wife is giving him a hard time. I mean, really, he's breaking the guy's balls about, you know, he's not there. And he gets into an argument like we all do, I guess. Huh? The safe house, Dante, played by the late Anthony Rubistello, who we love. They pull up. Tony gets out. Again, You Keep Me Hanging On by Vanilla Fudge. They go inside. Now, this is a house Carmela bought, right?
This is Long Branch.
Long Branch.
That's where it was shot. Long Branch, New Jersey. That's their beach house. After the other deal went south, I guess, the Whitecaps, this must have been in that area probably. Interesting little push in with the camera, with the music playing, this point of view shot. It's really well done. A lot of great camera work in this, and really, David's a great director. I loved what he did, you know, as a director in this.
You know, Carmela says, I got to go home. I got to get out of here. There's a smell. It's toxic, which is really, at this point, come on. I mean, what the fuck, you know? They got bigger fish to fry than that. Meadows there. She's on her way out. They're moving around. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're that hidden, I'll be honest. You know? They're not.
No, it doesn't.
You know, AJ's girlfriend is there. Tony says a terrible line here. I wouldn't kick her out of bed for purging cookies, which is what she was in rehab for.
She was in the psych ward. Not rehab, it was psychiatric ward, no.
But eating disorder, right? Carmela, she's a model. She's done some modeling. She's quitting modeling. She's only a junior in high school. Right. Quite young. What's a junior in high school? 16?
16, 17, yeah. She's younger than AJ. You notice Tony has an orange. There's a couple of Godfather references in this, and, you know, oranges, there's a lot of oranges in The Godfather. You know that, right?
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Godfather 3, I saw that so long ago. I've never watched that again.
Yeah, there was a lot of really obvious orange placement, in that. Yeah, much more than in the other ones.
So Tony tells AJ, Uncle Bobby's funeral is finally set for Thursday, and we're going to be there. He says, how's it going to work? We're in DEFCON 4. You know, we're going to stand out at the cemetery. And Carmela puts her 2 cents in. There's always a large FBI presence. She knows everything, Carmela. She knows exactly. She's got all her jewelry on, even though she's just hiding out. All the jewelry still wants to show off. Worried about the odor, you know, which is not really that important at this point. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised that Meadows going back into the city by herself after what happened with Coco. You know what I mean?
She's she's brave, I guess. She's not that afraid. And
I mean, I just, it doesn't seem, you know, AJ's girl is there going through the front door. I mean, it doesn't seem that secretive, you know?
They're not that careful, yeah.
It doesn't seem it. FBI office agent Grasso.
So Bacala's funeral's on TV.
They're watching the funeral. I'm glad they didn't make me in the box, you know?
You could have done your motherfuck the world right there. They could have intercut. We could recut this scene with that, you know, with you doing it.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to do that. Vesuvio's, now it's the repass, which is what they call after the wake, and then the cemetery, and then you go to a restaurant. Now, I told you I was at, you know, Jilly Rizzo, who was Frank Sinatra's right-hand guy. He was a friend of mine, and his son Willie Rizzo is still a friend of mine. And
is the dog Willie named after him?
No. More Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson?
Yeah, I'm a big Willie Nelson fan. You know that. I used to drink with Willie in Vegas.
But you're a Van Morrison fan. Why didn't you name him Van?
Well, maybe the next one.
Sting? Now, you love Sting.
I'm not going to name Sting. I don't want a dog named Sting. I like Billy Joel. Willie. right? I used to call my mother-in-law Wilma. So part her too. Part
What
Willie
was it?
Nelson.
That wasn't her name?
No, her name was Jane.
Why'd you call her Wilma?
I have no idea. But for whatever reason, I called her Wilma. And
She didn't mind.
not at all. She was a great woman, I told you. She, I got along better with my in-laws than I did with my own mom and dad. The repass, so I went to Jilly, got killed by a drunk driver. And he was a terrific guy. And he got killed by a drunk driver on his 75th birthday. And I had been at his 65th birthday, his 70th birthday. 75th birthday in Palm Springs. I think it's 1991. Like that, 1991, maybe 90, 91. And after the funeral, Milton Berle, I'm not joking, he gave the eulogy. Other people got up to speak. Milton Berle did. And then we went to Frank Sinatra's house.
Frank was there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We went to the cemetery. Right? And then we went to Frank Sinatra's house. And I've talked about it. I had the run of the place. I mean, it was like, the people that, were close enough to go to the cemetery, they invited me back. And I was in Sinatra's house. He was, getting older at that point. But Roger Moore was there. Paul Anka was there. And his wife, and they had food. And that's where it was, the repast, at the house. And it was in Palm Springs. And I remember, and I might have told the story, but I said I need to use the phone. I had to call my wife. And I went into his living room, and he had like these, the big, beautiful birds. I don't know if it was a cockatiel, and a big thing of goldfish. And the guy brought me a phone, and I said, I'm in fucking Sinatra's living room. I'm sitting on his couch. And, then he had posters of concerts, posters of him with Bobby Kennedy, with John F. Kennedy.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. He had like the main house, and then it was like a little pathway, and then he had like the room where we were all in. It had a sunken bar, and that's where everybody was. And it wasn't that many people there. And I walked around. It was like on 4 acres in Palm Springs. I walked around where he had that room with all the trains and all that stuff.
Oh, he was a train guy?
Train guy. He had a 1,200 square foot little like bungalow with a train set, huge train set. And then he had little bungalows, like guest bungalows, like 4 of them with a kidney-shaped pool, like for his guests.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a repass there. And like you say, I think they're so used to death, these people, that, they want to eat. Bobby's a second thought, So lots of food.
Yeah. Paulie's saying cauliflower is $3.99 a pound. Carlos' son talks about the roast pork. They're totally engaged with this buffet. And they're sitting around, the kids, talking about American Idol. Paulie sits down at the table with the kids. Who are you? I'm Bobby's niece. That's Tarazincone was Bobby's niece. He unzips his pants a little bit because he ate too much. I mean, it's pretty funny. And then he says, in the midst of death, we are in life. Or is it the other way around? Either way, we're halfway up the ass. It is the other way around. It's in the midst of life, we are in death, which is from a Gregorian chant from the 10th century by Nutker the Stammerer, who was a monk in the Abbey of St. Gall, came up with that chant, I guess.
And, AJ doesn't like it. So he says, you people are fuck, you're living in a dream. He's just all over the place, like she says. The world, don't you see it? Bush let them escape. Al-Qaeda in the mountains. Jason Gervaisi, he sticks his nose in. Let's join up, go kill some fucking terrorists. AJ is pissed. He's mad at the whole thing. And, Paulie is a big President Bush fan, as was Tony Sirico.
I met W. Bush with Tony Sirico.
Where?
We were together. We were at some charity event in this financial district.
And he was the president then?
It was a benefit. Oh, I don't think he was president then. I think it was during Obama, but he was there, yeah.
Really?
And he
nice guy?
Came over and said hello to us, yeah.
He watched the show? I
guess so. He knew, he was very friendly. He was with all his Secret Service people and stuff. It was some, they have those charities in the brokerage. There's one day where the brokerage firms donate all their proceeds to charity. It's one of those things.
Oh, I got you, yeah. Where you get on the phone, yeah, I've done it.
Yeah, exactly. Patsy Parisi is with his wife, Donna. Now, that's Donna Pescow, who was Annette in Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. She was great in Saturday Night Fever, and then she had her own TV show called Angie back in the late 70s.
She's from Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn.
Oh, really? Yeah, she was fantastic in Saturday Night Fever.
She is, she was a big star in the 70s, and she's had a couple of other shows. Big star. And she plays his wife. And, AJ, they're kind of basically laughing at AJ. Paulie says the Framis intersects with the Ramistan, the Pata, they're just talking nonsense. They're basically laughing AJ off what he's saying.
But he does say, and this goes back to the theme of the show, Made in America. America, this is still where people come to make it, talking about immigrants. They don't want to, they're kind of thinking of the Italian immigrants as very different than what the immigrants that he's talking about. They don't want to, they don't want to kind of accept what he's saying. But he's thinking, he has a lot of thoughts about society, AJ, and what he feels are the failures. And, he's an interesting, he's in an interesting place. Let's put it that way, mentally, I think.
Safe House, Tony, Benny, Carlo, Dante, they're watching The Twilight Zone, which is David Chase, was one of his favorite TV shows.
Yeah, he loved Rod Serling. This is the Bard episode. Burt Reynolds is one of the stars of this episode, and he plays a character that was kind of a parody of Marlon Brando. And it's about a screenwriter who uses, through black magic, conjures up Shakespeare and has Shakespeare help him write this TV script.
Oh.
And you hear the quotes here. Television industry is looking for talent, looking for quality, preoccupied with talent. The writer's a major commodity. Obviously, very pointed and specifically chosen here.
And they're looking for quality and talent now. They're preoccupied. Like you said, TV, the major commodity. They, like what? They're going to hire people without talent. You know what I mean? And then as they're all
I guess they did.
They're all hanging around watching the show. Benny says, we can't even go down to the pork store. We got to hang around here all day doing nothing like they do at the pork store. Because 23 hours a day, these guys do nothing.
Do nothing. Gossip. Big gossips, right?
Gossip, and they know everything about everything. I don't know if you've ever been around a lot of wise guys. They know politics. They know sports. They know everything about everything. Entertainment, with this guy, that guy. So this is what these guys are doing: reading crossword puzzles, doing anything, right? Anthony comes in, played by the great Johnny C. A lot of the customers are giving the action to New York. Patsy says he gives an envelope to Tony. He says it's light. Things are not good for the Soprano family. Pressure's
power vacuum. They take advantage. They ask him if he wants to go see. They ask Tony if he wants to go see Silvio, and he says, "No, I got my daughter." And they say yesterday it was his gout. I guess they're a little disappointed that he hasn't gone to see Silvio.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Also, they're talking about the cat. He came around after the big storm. He already caught the mouse down the cellar. Tony says, "We know Tony Soprano's he's a big
animal lover." Yeah.
I'm not a cat guy. Are you a cat guy?
I had a cat at one point. Yeah, I really liked him.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
What was his name?
His name was Mammoth, after the playwright.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not, yeah.
Little Italy. Tour bus passes through Little Italy. This is famous Little Italy. It once covered over 40 square blocks, but now it has been reduced to one row of shops and cafes. Now, let's take it easy. It's not one row of shops and cafe.
It's about 4.
Well, listen, you got from Canal, up to, Kenmare to Prince.
Prince.
It's still around. There's great restaurants. Danico is
No,
one
it's
of our
not
favorite.
one row, of course. No, but it's a lot smaller than it was,
Yeah,
obviously.
of course it is. But
a
it's
lot of Italians don't really live there anymore. Very few.
Yeah, I got you. But it's still a fun place to go. There's great restaurants. Danico is one of our favorite restaurants.
It's delicious.
You've got a bunch of pastry
Cafe
shops,
Roma's nice.
Cafes, coffee. Of course, the San Gennaro Feast is always a lot of fun. It's still a good time down there. So you go down there, especially if the weather's nice. You sit outside, people watch. It's a little better than that, Butch and Ray Ray walking down the street. Phil calls Butch. No word yet. No one knows where our friend is, meaning Tony Soprano. Phil is not happy. There's no word. There's no progress. Nobody's taking this lightly, Phil. He should have got done first. So Phil is very angry with Butch. Tony Soprano should have been gone by now.
And
Phil
Butch seems to be leaning towards maybe sitting down and working this out, and Phil doesn't want to hear it.
Big problems with Butch and Phil. They can't find Tony. And Little Italy is right next door to Chinatown.
So if you walk south on Mulberry Street, eventually you'll hit Canal, and then below Canal it becomes Chinatown.
There's only one Italian restaurant in that neighborhood below Canal that's Follini's.
Which is a great one, yeah.
Which is a good one that
It's funny because he's on the phone and then all of a sudden he unexpectedly seems like he finds himself in Chinatown and is almost disoriented.
Yeah. He's it's right there. A matter of fact, it's very close, but there is still a Little Italy. So, but we've talked about great Little Italies everywhere. Toronto's got 2. Montreal's got a great one.
San Francisco still has a good one I like a lot.
A really good one, So there are still a
Boston.
lot of... Boston's got a great one, the North End. Rhode Island.
Providence
has a great one, Westerly, our buddy Jerry Longo, meatballs and martinis. Janice's house, she's on the back deck. It's very dark, cloudy out. She's under a blanket.
Depressing looking, like the land is, kind of empty in parts of it there. She's alone. It's sad, He brings her something from Ferrara's, pastries, cannolis, whatever. She says, I got to...
And Ferrara's is good, but the best is Venero's.
Venero's is really good, and Rocco's on the West Village on Bleecker Street is really good.
That's a good one. And Ferrara's is good, but for my money, go to Venero's. X for Robert. They talk about Bobby, the dig you made about me giving head under the boardwalk. He says, he took it so seriously, Bobby. That's when they had the fight. Janice is sad for real here.
And Aida's brilliant. It's a very good scene. Aida's really good, and so is Jim. But there's something simple, quiet, and really honest about this scene. I really liked it a lot.
And she says, I got your Ferraris, and she says, I have to watch my weight. I need to snag another husband, which we talked about. Who would be her next? She
says only someone in our family would get that joke, because their sense of humor is because they're so crazy, the Sopranos, that their sense of humor is equally as dark and crazy as they are.
She said, I'd like to give it a shot with Bobby's kids. I had therapy. I'm a good mother, And
Sophia's out of her mind if she thinks she's getting out of the house. I mean, Janice is...
She's crazy. She is crazy. Then we see he gets a phone call, right? Tony walks to the van, and Agent Harris calls from the bedroom. He's having an affair with
another
female
agent.
FBI agent, and he tells him, multiple calls traced to a payphone in Oyster Bay, Long Island. Gas station, most likely.
Yeah, this is funny because it's almost like he's almost this weird version of Tony Soprano with the Gumar, in the hotel. There's something kind of similar about it. There's an interesting little details in the scene with Tony and Janice. This sound designer put in like a woodpecker here and there. That was definitely put in post production. And then he says, all this area used to be cornfields, and now it's like these McMansion houses. She says something interesting. I'm a good mother. I put Ma and all her warped shit behind me, which is, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah. And they
she is trying.
Talk about Harpo changed his name to Hal.
Hal. Yeah, now he's Hal.
The gas station, Benny and Walden, stakeout, the gas station, they're out there. They're all over this. They want Phil bad.
They want Phil bad. There's lots of images of gas stations, obviously, because they're staking out Phil. But this was during the war in Iraq, Afghanistan, after 9/11, which a lot of it was about oil, and a lot of David's points are being made, as people losing their lives and fighting wars because of oil, and that's a lot of what David wanted to say. I think, with some of these images and some of this story here.
Rhiannon, what's it? Rhiannon,
one of my favorite scenes in the whole Sopranos. I just thought it was awesome. This song, like David said, you put a Dylan song over anything and it gets amazing. He, not busy being born, is busy dying. Masters make the rules for the wise men and the fools. I got nothing, Ma, to live up to. And the two of them, and it's a hopeful scene. AJ, he has a conscience, you know what I mean? He's being thoughtful about the world. He's opening his eyes to, good and evil in the world. And it's a moment between them, and they were only friends up until this point, it seemed, right?
Yeah. They stare at each other, they kiss.
Something hopeful, love in the midst of all this kind of war and death and violence, the Soprano family under the threat of murder and all that.
Smoke seeps into the car. They step out, the car blows up. Very could have been disastrous, to be honest with you. Safe house, Tony Carmella, AJ, and Meadow in the living room. How many fucking times have I told you it's an SUV? Watch where you park. AJ says, I didn't see the leaves. And Carmella says, just another stupid thing. If there was children playing in those leaves, you'd have run them over. What was going through your mind?
The other thing is, it's a sport utility vehicle, so it's supposed to be able to go off-road, but then you drive into some leaves and the thing blows up. It's like, it's so kind of stupid.
I mean, but she says if there was children, of course, if there was children playing in the leaves, And what do you want from me? I'm depressed. I'm supposed to go around looking for piles of leaves. You want to hear depressed? $30,000 for that car. He is pissed. Tony's pissed off.
He's really pissed. He says, well, don't you have insurance? I'll take the bus. I'm happy. Yeah.
Which is true. I mean, is that what you have insurance for? You're not getting another one. He says, that's good. It'll force me to take the bus. We have to break our dependence on foreign oil. Meadow chimes in to sticking up for AJ, and he starts yelling at her.
He does.
You want a piece of this. FBI office. FBI agent listens to a phone call between Tony and George. Tony reaches out. George, it's Anthony. I just left your friend, the son, crying the blues over the situation.
So George is friends and a crony of Little Carmine.
Yeah. And he's retired, basically retired. Says, I need you to reach out to the little guy meeting Butch. He's not happy with Phil either.
On a neutral location, guarantee everybody's safety. This is out of The Godfather. You remember that, right?
Yeah. The warehouse, it looks very cold. Now they shot
Great
this.
shot. Really great. Well
now they
done,
shot
Alec.
this. We did the Blue Comet in February. So this is late February, March in New York. Looks very cold. Tony and Paulie get out of the car. George brings them to a table, a little Carmine. They say, you want water. It's set up kind of like a corporate conference room.
Right.
They have all the water bottles, right? They're in this garage. We started it. We got a dead grandma in Queens and a Ukrainian father, Johnny Sacramone, my friend.
Tony blames Johnny Sack for all the trouble.
But it is true.
Yeah.
Somewhat, I'm sorry to say, was an insecure guy. Go ahead, Carmine. Carmine doesn't really want to say. Little Carmine, just not very bright.
No.
Just not very bright.
He's not very bright. He doesn't want to deal with any of this.
No. Butch says, we agree it's gone too far. Phil's changed. You got my word. We'll back off. Like we always talked about, it's all about money. Like David even said, money and death. And one more thing, you hit my brother-in-law. And Butch goes, so? This is my sister we're talking about. She's got to see something. We'll come up with a number. Like, that makes it better. What is Bobby Bacala's life worth? Or
50?
anybody's?
I don't know. 50 grand?
Is that all?
What do you think they're going to come up with?
I don't know. At least 100.
100 grand? Maybe. Well, they also asked for a location on Phil, and they say I can't go there, but you do what you got to do. Basically saying they're kind of okay with them killing him.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Now, I'll tell you what. When I watched it this morning, it made me think Tony doesn't get shot at the end because there really is not heat on them. It seems like the New York family kind of wants Phil gone anyway.
Yeah.
So who really is still coming after him? You know what I mean?
Unless they double-crossed him. That's the only thing.
Doesn't seem like because really Phil's the one that has the hard on for Tony, right?
Yeah.
He wants to take control. These other guys kind of want business to go back as normal. That's why they're sitting down with him. Little Carmine, of course, doesn't want it. Butch seems like wants to go back to the way things were so they can earn money.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it seems like if Phil was still alive, then I would think maybe, okay, there's reason for Tony to be scared at the end. There's reason for that tension. Watching it today, I was like, it seems like the heat is kind of off by the end.
Well, it is off. That's why they're moving back into the house. It's over. There's relief. I said, if you got people want to notice, he's got a suitcase in his right hand and a canned ham in his left.
And you heard David, this is a detail. And that was either in the script or it was in the tone meeting where he said Tony should have a canned ham in his arm and a suitcase in the other. That's, again, the genius of The Sopranos. Nothing was left for, taken for granted.
Absolutely.
Nothing was left up to chance.
The pork store back room, Tony, Benny, and Walden sit at a table. Paulie arrives. The cat jumps on the table. Paulie, get them the fuck out of here. They're snakes with fur. The old Italians would tell you can't even put them around the baby. They suck the breath out of them.
Now, do you think the cat is Christopher, like reincarnated?
No.
I do.
Why would he be looking at his own picture? But then
He's
again,
reminded of his old self.
Well, but then again, you probably look at pictures of yourself all day long.
Actually, I don't.
No?
No, you'd be surprised.
But you said recently you were telling with David about the ego and the thing, Buddhism. And
yeah.
That fits you to a T.
What?
Giant ego.
This is the last show, Steve. We have to go here. Wow, what's interesting? Paulie walks in with a box of barber scissors. Now, what's his name? Has a barber shop, a beauty salon. Butch.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there's a connection with that. He may, because somebody.
They blew it up in Sheepshead Bay.
They blew up the barber shop?
Yeah.
Is that what they
Didn't
blew
they?
up?
I think so.
No, they blew up the gambling casino.
But was it in the back?
They blew up the loan sharking place. No, but what's interesting is, for a second I thought, is Paulie working with Butch behind? But then he wouldn't bring the scissors if he was doing it. That wouldn't make sense.
So he doesn't like the cat. And Benny, he get rid of him. He says, you're the only baby here, so we're ahead of the game. Yeah, Paulie, you want to wear this fucking pelt on your head? I said, get rid of him. And then Tony comes in, and he says, leave him. He's a good guy.
Good episode for Frank John Hughes as Walden. He did a really good job as the character. Very believable, and I liked what he did in this episode a lot.
Very good. Very good. He's a good actor.
Yeah, really good.
And a really good writer. Yeah. Super Value gas station. Paulie drives by. There's no payphone. The gas was $2.49 then in 2007. And now, well, in California, it's $5.29.
Yeah, wow.
The Wyckoff Center, Janice visits Junior and Pat. Pat, how are you? Olivia. Junior calls Olivia. Junior
She's
never,
beefing with the staff, right? You hear
Yeah.
it right when she walks
Yeah.
in. You could be a lot nicer. You could be kind, whatever. You know,
works
she's got a
both-
beef with everybody.
works both ways. I'm Janice's daughter. Junior never liked Janice.
No.
Never.
She
He
left
says-
my stove on, he says.
Sweet as she looks, he's confused. He thinks Janice is Olivia, and he thinks the baby
It's Janice.
Is Janice. He says, "I'm afraid I got bad news. Bobby's dead." The Ambassador Hotel, talking about Bobby Kennedy.
No reaction after that.
I shot Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas at the Ambassador Hotel, and I went into the kitchen.
Oh, wait, Bobby Kennedy was killed in Las Vegas?
No, in L.A.
L.A., okay.
L.A. The Ambassador Hotel, and it was the Coconut Grove, was the big nightclub there.
Where's the Ambassador Hotel? Where was it? What part
I
of LA?
don't remember.
Like downtown?
No, I don't think so. And they knocked it down, but I shot this in like 97, and I went back there.
That's where he was killed, in the kitchen?
Yeah, in the kitchen. Yeah. He was shot.
And where was the guy, the assassin, in the kitchen with him?
Yeah. She
Wow.
came in. Yeah, he was shot in the kitchen. Kind of eerie when I went back there, to tell you the truth. Bada bing, back room. Tony meets with Uncle Pat. He said she's inveigling him. What does that mean?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure.
Inveigling. Andy, what does inveigling mean? She's after his money. You're not even curious about it?
It means persuading somebody to do something by means of deception or flattery.
Okay. He can fucking rot, Tony says. Dr. Dougherty's office. I like the way she plays it.
That's Jenna Stern, who was in. I first met her when we had the Theater Studio Dante. She did a play that Francine Volpe wrote called Late Fragment that Nick Sandow starred in. That was really about 9/11, and she was wonderful. And then she was also in the Hungry Ghosts that you starred in, that I directed. A really good actress. She's been on Law and Order and Blue Bloods many times as a judge on Law and Order, SVU.
Yeah, she's very good. Very good. Dr. Dougherty, when you were an inpatient, you said you might try and get a job. AJ, I can't now because of the car. He's a con artist. The thing is, ever since it blew up, I feel like I'm cleansed. Because it was a polluter, no. I mean, I just watching it go, that huge fireball, you have no idea. The heat, my seat melted. I had been in there a few seconds before. I don't know. AJ's confused.
He's confused, yeah.
He's confused. Bada bing, Paulie arrives. Nobody's there. He calls Tony. I had a meeting here with Carlo this morning. We were supposed to go see Butch and them on a couple of items. Carlo didn't show. He don't answer his phones either.
And then Paulie's looking around because that's where he saw the Virgin Mary. The last time he was probably alone in the Bing. I liked his ringtone with Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel, right? So it looks like the possibility is that Carlo has flipped. His son was picked up the day before for selling ecstasy, and that does not go down well with Tony. He thinks he really smells a rat here.
And also, those two kids were so cocky, those two fucking scumbags, spoiled brats, the two Jasons.
Wannabes, yeah.
Yeah, because their fucking father, two fucking punks, Meadows' room, Carmela arrives, Hunter and Meadow. And Hunter is played by David Chase's daughter.
Michelle de Cesare, she was in season 1 in quite a few episodes.
And Carmela comes in, Miss Hunter, long time no see. Oh my God, when was it? It was right around when you quit college. She said, you're being kind. I got kicked out for partying and drunk driving. I'm in my second year of med school. She went to Purchase, which is, we talked about a lot, the Purchase Mafia.
It's where Edie went, yeah.
That's where Edie went. And Carmela is very disappointed. She don't want to hear it. When
she's jealous.
Oh, very much so.
That Hunter went to med school, yeah.
Very much so.
Downstairs in the Soprano house, Patsy and Donna Parisi are there. And it's very tense. It's very awkward, right? They got him there. She's trying to tell a joke. She doesn't tell it right. Jason's there. It's very tense and uncomfortable. Patsy needs a refill, Carmela says, and it's like this tense little beat. And Patsy offers to go get it, and Tony says, "No, I'll get it." And Donna's looking at the china.
Yeah, and she's looking around at their house. She's jealous of the house. That's very obvious. The other Jason didn't come. Her son didn't come. Just his son, Patrick.
Patrick, not Jason, right? Yeah. Patrick's there.
He said, Tony mentioned, no, really. That pal of his, the other Jason, heard he ran into some trouble. Carlos Jason, Donna says he's a mess. And then Patrick talks about over at his law firm. They talking about giving Meadow a job. When she finished law school, starting out at $170,000 a year. That's a lot of money. I didn't know.
A lot of money. Tony's very excited with that.
Do lawyers start out at that much money?
I guess over there they do. Maybe.
Then he said, we're defending James Trifoglio, the county commissioner. That wasn't the guy that wouldn't let us shoot in the Pine Barrens.
Maybe it was.
Isn't that scumbag?
I don't know.
The fucking scumbag politician said we made Italians in New Jersey look bad, and then he got busted for fraud. Maybe that's his name. I don't know. He said big bid rigging. It's got bagmen, whoas. It's fascinating. Patrick seems like the square of the family.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's talking about Tony. Bagmen, whores, that's basically Tony's world, right?
Yeah. Pork store back room. The cat's looking at a picture of Christopher. Great shot.
Really
Walden
great.
Clifton waits. Paulie arrives. Sometimes, most of the day, he just stares at Chrissy's picture. That fucking animal is history today, Paulie says.
Creeps him out.
Look at him staring at the dead kid. Gives me the fucking creeps. Tony comes in, and then Paulie, who's got the broom in his hand, is like kind of going after the cat. He starts sweeping. And Tony says to Walden, give us a minute, would you? And he questions, what kind of name is Walden for an Italian? And that was Bobby Darin's real name. Walden Robert Casotto, from the Bronx, I believe, right?
Was he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe he's from the Bronx. He talks to him, Tony, the Cifaretto crew's a Chinese fire drill over there, especially now that Carlo is absent.
Now, Chinese fire drill, what you know what that means?
No.
It means like chaotic, but it comes from, apparently it comes from a British ship in like 1900 that had a Chinese crew, and they were doing a fire drill where they'd get the water off the starboard side of the boat, dump it into the engine room where they pretended was a fire, and then they'd bail it out on the port side of the boat. But because of the language barrier, they wound up just taking the water from one side of the boat and dumping it on the other and bypassing where the fire was supposed to be, hence the term Chinese fire drill. That's what I've heard.
And he says, I want you to skip he wants Paulie to take over Ralph's Cifaretto crew. And Paulie's not happy about it. Due respect, let me mull it over. I don't want you, I'm no spring chicken. I don't want to have me dying on you. He's making an excuse. He doesn't want it.
He's spooked by the position. He thinks being captain of that crew has like a malok.
They may be right. And he says, come on, it's one big ATM machine. Tony says to Paulie. Gas station, little Paulie.
Paulie's not in it for the money in a way. Paulie's kind of okay. He doesn't seem like Paulie ever really aspired to be like a big boss or anything. Like he was okay being a soldier, it seems.
It's a lot of responsibility, and the higher up you go, you got a target on your back, obviously,
Yeah.
Gas station, little Paulie impersonates a cop. Carl Capitano, always funny. I guess he's still beat up for when Christopher threw him out the window.
Falling out the window, yeah.
He shows the manager a picture of Phil. The guy says, we don't have payphones. Just a couple of stations have them anymore. With the payphones went out of business with cell phones, right?
Right.
I mean, that was, if you had the payphone business, I'm sure you did very well. And that just puts you flat out of business.
Out of business.
And you know what else? When they invented the luggage on wheels, that hurt the skycaps at the end. You would tip them, and they would bring your bags, to the counter. Now, once you could wheel your bag, they're fucked.
Yeah, that's going away.
Going away. Back road, Tony drives. He sees AJ running. He sings the Rocky theme. AJ tells him, "I'm going to join the army."
Again, another Godfather kind of reference there. Michael Corleone joined the army, right?
Why did you sign any shit? No, but I will. What about your mother? You nuts? You want to get sent to Iraq? You don't have a career. My ultimate goal is to qualify for helicopter pilot training. Afterwards, go work for Trump or somebody. Be their personal pilot. I'm not even going to tell your mother about this. And don't you do nothing until we had a chance to talk. Next scene, first thing he comes in, he's going to join the fucking army, and Carmela just stares.
See, a very weird moment. She's in the bath.
I think she just had enough.
Indulging in her luxury of her house and this nice bath and this moment, and he tells her, and you think she'd be like, what? There's not much of a reaction at all.
Sometimes you just get beat up. It's like, what the fuck is next? This kid has been a handful for a couple of years now.
Yeah, true.
A handful. It's like, really? Nothing to surprise her. Dr. Dougherty's office, Tony meets with Dr. Dougherty. I got to be frank, you people got him out of his room. Great. So he could be cannon fodder. I wasn't aware of the latest plan. Tony starts talking about himself.
Yeah, well, the first they say he's bought some Arabic CDs. She said it might be great for him to go into the military if there was no war. He said he wants to get past the hate. And then he goes into he's very selfish when it comes to like his mother and the psychological history and all that stuff and the family dynamics. He loves bitching about that shit.
Yeah. Carmela don't want to hear it. She's rolling her eyes.
She's heard it too many times.
Japanese restaurant, Tony has dinner with Meadow. We used to have dinner all the time. You're going to get married. My chances are flying by. They call them gagoots, which is an endearing term.
It comes from cucumber.
Yeah, well, that's the little term.
Gagoots, yeah.
Yeah, but, gagoots is, it's kind of a endearing term to your son, your grandson. Sure. Meadow, the world is a sad, fucked up place. If there's so much suffering in the world, why did you go off the pediatrician bit? You said you wanted to be a lawyer. Oh, that's all I said, really? What I said was the state can crush the individual. And she tells him, she's become a lawyer because of him.
And how the Italians were treated which I don't know. I'm not sure.
The federal government, she saw the FBI come over the house, and he does not like that. They wanted her to be a doctor.
Be a doctor, yeah.
Very prestigious. To say I have a doctor in the family. And not all doctors are fucking gems, like we talked about.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of bad, fucked up doctors.
Of course.
A lot of schmucks that are doctors.
Absolutely. A lot.
Yeah. Raceway gas station, Patty, Phil, and their baby grandchildren. They park at the gas station. Phil gets out of the car, and it's pretty brutal, right? In front of the kids and the wife. Walden just fucking shoots him right in the head.
Right in the head, he falls down, shoots him in the heart. Vanilla Fudge, Keep Me Hanging On Again is playing.
Now
the car is engaged in gear and drive. It starts rolling.
And he's calling Pop Pop. Now, when you become a grandfather, what do you want your grandkids to call you?
Grandpa.
Because I don't like Pop Pop at all.
No. We never said that.
Pop Pop, Gramps, Grandpa, Granddad, no.
Grandpa. That's what I call him.
Yeah. I don't like Pop Pop. But the two kids are in the car. I mean, it's really cold-blooded. I mean, boom, right in front of his wife. She screams, horrified. Then the car, she's out of the car. It's in drive. It rolls right over Phil's head. I remember that they made a lot of heads.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. I don't know who has it. I know Steve Kelly, the makeup guy, had a Ralph Cifaretto head. I was going to ask David, and I forgot if he had a Phil head.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's really, and Adam Levine, he's a New Jersey guy that helped us. He comes out of the car. He says, "Holy shit." And there's a bunch of kids there. Watch it. One kid bends over and throws up. Agent Harris watching the video on the computer. Agent Goddard arrives. He says, "You see Metro News, your old beat. Phil Leotardo got popped." And Agent Harris says, "Damn, we're going to win this thing."
Yeah, which is a reference to Lindsay Del Vecchio, who was FBI, who was leaking information to the Colombo family. And when one of their rebel mobsters, it was kind of a renegade guy within the family, got killed, he said that exact. I guess it came out in the trial or something. I don't think he went to jail, but he came close.
Yeah. Soprano kitchen. Tony and Carmela sit at the table. AJ sits down. I mean, they're just backpedaling,
But it kind of, when he comes down in the robe like that, it reminded me of Tony. Like he looked like a young version of Tony Soprano. It was interesting,
We don't want you to join the army. We don't think it's in your best interest. While a war's going on, he's saying he's going to go to officer school. I could join the CIA. And with my military background, I have a leg up. As an Arabic speaker, I'll be really useful.
Right. He's not there yet. He just bought a couple of CDs. He says, "I'll go to officers candidate school." They're like, "Officers candidate school? You fucked out of college.
Yeah.
You're a terrible student." He says Rhiannon doesn't think he should go into the army.
And AJ says, "Always with the drama," which is something Tony has said in the past, always with the drama.
Tony has said that in the past. They said, "Well, what about the nightclub business? And your other friends are in film school." And with that, he takes out a screenplay given to him by Danny Baldwin. It's called Antivirus. And the writer's credit is S. Kornacki. Steve Kornacki was a production coordinator on The Sopranos.
Yeah.
He's also a writer and a producer. That's who that is. I'm not sure if it's A. Evans, who that is. I guess it's a movie where a detective gets sucked into the computer to solve murders of virtual prostitutes or something like that.
Sounds terrible.
It sounds worse than Cleaver.
Yes, it
does. Little Carmine's interested in producing it. He's like, he produces porn. Well, he did Cleaver. He's branching out. You can be a development executive on this project. And AJ kind of likes that idea.
But Tony says before that, what, you're going to go ask Donald for time off to go on military missions? I mean, AJ's delusional, to be honest, He's just talking nonsense. And, they're trying to talk him out of it, and he's interested. I think it sounds more exciting than what it really is. For the time being, it's an entry-level job, but hey, got to start somewhere.
It's the movie business, yeah.
Film school. Everyone's in film school.
A lot of people in film school.
Yeah. Bada bing back room. Tony meets with Neil.
Neil Mink. Now, in any other show, this would be a very cut and dry scene with a lawyer and a client, right? And The Sopranos there's always the wrinkle. There's always the thing. They're having hamburgers and he can't get the ketchup out, which builds into a thing that Tony just gets so fucking frustrated and tries to do it himself. And B, the video monitor, a security camera watching the hallway where the strippers are going in and out, topless.
And Neil Mink likes that.
Right. So any other show would just be Neil Mink saying, you're probably going to go to trial. Someone's talking to the grand jury. There's subpoenas all over the place. But those two things add this whole other level of weirdness and tension. It's just great. So smart. So smart writing. Yeah.
Silvio's hospital room. There's a direct response ad for a cooking product on the TV. It's an infomercial. Gab, his wife, played by Maureen Van Zandt, she's giving him a pedicure.
Yeah.
Little Miss Sunshine then comes on TV. You ever see that movie? It's a great
Yeah,
movie.
I like that movie. I worked with the actress Abigail Breslin on a movie. She was great. I like her a lot.
Alan Arkin. Silvio still has the wig on.
Well, Stephen Van Zandt says Silvio didn't wear a wig. But in The Many Saints in Newark,
We saw it.
we saw it. So, yeah.
But he still has the wig on. He's still vain.
I guess Gabrielle keeps the wig on him.
Bulk store, Tony meets with Paulie. They're out front. All due respect, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, I'm going to pass. Every guy who ran that crew died prematurely. Richie, April, Ralphie went missing. Vito, and who knows what the fuck with Carlo, who we don't know is a rat at this moment. We think so.
And Gigi.
And Gigi. Gigi died taking a shit.
But it fucks with Paulie's mind. He thinks that it's cursed because Paulie is very superstitious. He,
and it might be. It might be. Paulie, are you going to deny yourself life-changing money? A package to leave your niece who has MS. It's like your bullshit with the cat. Now looking at Christopher.
Tony says that his gambling luck has changed drastically since Christopher's death, somehow.
Yeah, 180.
And then 180.
Paulie tells him, I never told this to another living soul. But one time at the Bing, I was alone to meet Eddie Lynn. He saw the Virgin Mary. And Tony makes a joke out of it. Fuck strippers. We could have a shrine, sell holy water in gallon jugs. We could have made millions. That's like those people that find, like a statue and it's crying. Right? You see this all the time on the internet.
Some of those are supposed to be true. Well, you don't believe in that?
I don't believe it.
You don't believe in miracles?
I don't believe that a statue is like suddenly crying. I think there's some other explanation. I also, I just don't. Or there's on a piece of toast, Jesus Christ came out on a piece of toast.
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese.
Yeah. You've never had anything like that happen to you?
No. Or a potato chip is like, in the shape of somebody. I've never had any of that. I've never seen ghosts. I never saw an alien. I've never done any.
Because you're closed-minded.
Well, what do you mean closed-minded? So if my wife makes me a grilled cheese sandwich, Jesus Christ is on there?
I don't know, maybe. Depends on how you look at things, you know what I mean? If you're closed to it, you're never going to see it.
So what? Maybe this curtain.
I was just seeing something in that curtain, actually, over your left shoulder, but now you're blocking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
What is that? Was that an alien fucking head?
Skeleton. What was I going to say here? Oh, he doesn't want the job. I'm going to give it to Patsy, which Paulie doesn't like.
No.
Doesn't like hearing that. And he says, I live but to serve you, my liege. Meaning he's going to do the job?
Oh, yeah, of course. But do you remember in real life, me and you were doing, I think it was a charity event or something, and Tony said no to it. And then me and you decided to do it, and then he wanted to do it.
Oh, really?
He didn't want us to do it without him.
Great.
Yeah. Don't you remember? Then we went to Tribeca Grill afterwards.
You remember every fucking thing. It's incredible.
Not everything.
You have an amazing memory, especially especially if somebody slighted you. Then you really
all
remember.
The bad things. Yeah. I remember every bad thing, not all the great things. But speaking of when we did that Tribeca Grill, which I ate there recently, our friend Drew, was great. I went to a restaurant, Don Angie, in the Village, that's been around for a number of years, and I got to take you there because it was fantastic. Named Scott and Angie. I mean, it's fantastic. Don Angie. And my other favorite restaurant, which I've been meaning to bring up, in Memphis, Bar Dog Tavern. If you're in Memphis, Tennessee, if you're down there going to see Gracie Mansion,
really,
go to Bar Dog Tavern. Aldo, he's a good man. Aldo Dean is his name. He's a good man. But I remember that with if someone does me wrong, I'll never forget it.
Never forget it.
It's a bad trait. I'm not proud of that. I wish I could let it roll off my back, but I can't.
Oh, you could. You just have to make an effort.
I've tried. Doesn't work.
I don't think you have tried.
You sound like my wife now.
Oh, so she knows better than me, that's for sure.
Lone Wolf Productions building.
Well, no, it's Lone Wolves, which is a pun. Probably unintentional because it's Little Carmine, but it's
Lone Wolves.
Right, it should be Lone Wolf, right? Lone Wolves is, but right. Little Carmine's always making malaprops, so we're assuming. And it's the logo of the film company is a woman. Is she riding a wolf on the?
Oh, I didn't notice that. Well, it's a pawn business, right?
Yeah.
AJ leaves. He talks on the phone. He gets into a BMW.
Another $30,000 car, I guess, right?
There's no real public transit out here, but no more SUV. So he's rationalizing this. He's a spoiled kid. He picks her up from high school with his BMW. Soprano house, AJ, and this is the controversy here. They're AJ and I'll never get this name right.
Rhiannon.
Yeah, watch TV. Carmela comes downstairs. I guess they're eating potato chips. They're laughing, watching something on TV. We're not eating at home tonight. I thought we'd go to Holston's.
They're watching George Bush dancing on TV or something.
You said we'd have Monagot. And she says, I got meeting with the carpenters. Now, this is where the conspiracy that she told the killers or New York that they were going to Holston. That's what they said. We
heard it from David that there's nothing to that rumor.
You know, these politicians, they're always dancing. They look like fucking jerk-offs. Not everybody can dance. Don't dance. I can't dance. You don't see me.
Or don't do it on TV.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't dance because I would look like an asshole if I danced. That's not my thing. So don't dance. You know, they bite their upper lip like that white guy dance. You know what they do?
What are they?
You know, they dance. They think they're cool. It's horrifying. You ever go to a wedding? Older people are dancing. They're trying to dance to Snoop Dogg. What the fuck, you know? Stick to what you know.
They're just having fun, Steve. I mean, what?
Stick to what you know. Do a nice slow dance with your wife.
They're not doing it to be paid or something. They're just doing it for fun.
When you go to a wedding, do you get out there?
Sometimes. Dance? I'm not out there the whole time.
I've never seen you dance.
Never seen me dance? Oh, I'd like dance.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Good? I heard
good.
I heard Andy was really good dancing.
Andy's good, yeah. Andy and I have gone dancing. He's great. He's really good, especially at disco dancing. He's really good.
Really? He does the hustle.
He was king of the discos back in his day.
He does the hustle.
He does
maybe that's why he drinks so much. He needs a little encouragement to get out on the dance floor.
Well, after this episode, he won't have to drink anymore.
Soprano house, Tony Rakes leaves. Carmela comes outside. Holston's is the consensus. He says, I got to see some people. I'll meet you there.
This is an important scene because it's, and David has said it in interviews. He's pointed this scene out. It's a moment with him just raking the leaves in the backyard of his house, looking up at the sky, taking it in. And you see it on his face. It's a moment of contentment. Obviously, Jim, there's no dialogue there before Carmela comes out, but Jim was probably told, have a look of contentment. And there's something about that that's important to this last episode.
Tony visits Junior.
Great scene. Dominic's and Jim, both of them. This scene is fun.
Well, you don't recognize. It's a very sad scene to me.
Yeah, it is. Very sad.
Why, you don't recognize me? We used to play catch, so he remembers that. Of course, he used to play catch with Junior, not with his dad. You don't remember that you shot me? I'm Anthony, Johnny's son. Of course, the famous line, fuck you want, a boutonniere.
That scowl on Dominic's face, though, is just incredible. I mean, he's in the moment, man. He's awesome.
People keep asking me. I don't know. A man from another galaxy came here. They want his money. It's your accountant. Any money should go to Bobby Bacala's kids. Now, Janice may not do that, but Bobby was with us. He's a made guy. You remember where your stash is. Let Uncle Pat know. I'll hold on to it as a guardian for Bobby's kids. And he says, remember Johnny boy, your kid brother.
You two used to run this thing of ours, he says. I was involved in that. You two ran North Jersey. Well, that's nice. And Tony realizes he's gone.
Yeah.
He's just gone. Jim is great in that moment.
Great.
The way it comes over his face, yeah.
Very, 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 very sad. Okay, Holston's. Tony arrives.
Holston's has been there for at least 75 years. Candy started as a candy store, like ice cream and.
I never been. Have you been?
I have not been. It's in Bloomfield, New Jersey.
And what is it? Is it like a soda shop, a diner?
Yeah, it's like a Friendly's, like that, like but malted? Not a chain. Yeah, malted. I think it's started out as more of an ice cream, soda shop, candy store, but now it's a restaurant too. When he comes in, All That You Dream by Little Feat, the band is playing. Keep your eyes on the road that's ahead of you. All of the good times are ours. That's some of the lyrics from the song that's playing as he walks in. He sits down. I mean, this is the last scene of The Sopranos. I mean, it's a big deal here, right?
You see, this magic moment is on. It's not playing on the jukebox, but that's the scene where Bobby, after he kills the guy in Soprano home movies.
That's what plays?
Yeah, this magic
and that's
moment.
On the jukebox, but he doesn't choose it. Oh, I didn't know that.
Correct, yeah.
Oh. So he pricks Don't Stop Believing. And I'll tell you, when the song came up this morning when I watched it, I got the chills. It's something about that song now and Jim and I don't know. The fact this was the last time we're going to do this podcast. It's the last episode. The song came on this morning when I was watching. I really got a chill, and it was something very moving about it. Now, the song, we spoke about the choice of the song with Martin Bruce-Lee in our episode here. David was discouraged. People thought the song was not the right choice to end the show on, and David really said, no, it's really about... He spoke about it. He said it's really about don't stop believing, believe in, in life and believe in, appreciate the moment. The first line of the song, Just a Small Town Girl, cuts right there, cuts as Carmela enters. Really kind of beautiful.
It makes me sad to think that Tony Soprano might have died. Makes me sad, for real.
I don't think he did.
You flipped again.
After today, yeah. But before we talked to David, I changed. Watching the episode this morning, I was like, no. Did not happen. I'm
happy to hear that. Tony says, I don't know, where's Gagoots, meaning AJ? He's on his way. Another little thing. Meadows coming separately. She had to go to the doctor, switch birth control. Tony don't want to hear that. Her father doesn't really want to hear that.
No.
And he makes a great face.
He makes a great face.
Did you talk to Mink? He says it's Carlo. He's going to testify. So Carlo flipped to save his son's ass. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
The
guy in the members-only jacket, Jimmy Spadola is the actor, walks in. And he just walks in. He walks in the place. He goes and sits at the counter. AJ comes in, onion rings, best in the state. The members-only guy glances over at the table. Now, here's another thing, right? If this guy was a hitman, you're not going to go sit at the fucking counter for 10 minutes and order whatever he's doing there. It's
he would have just came in and did it and ran out?
Yeah, well, you want as little exposure of witnesses and people seeing your face. He's completely exposed. He's going to sit there for a while. That makes no sense at all.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
That really stood out to me in this viewing this morning. I was like, wait a second.
I mean, because, after he's there 10 minutes or whatever, you could really recognize him and who he was. And
Unless he's not the guy that's doing it, he's more of a setup guy, and he's just going to kind of make a phone call from the payphone and confirm that he's there, and the other guys are going to come in and do it, maybe. But him as a hitman doesn't really add up to me.
Carmela says, how was work today? All I'm doing is getting coffee and placing endless phone calls. And Carmela says, you may not realize it, but you are making contacts. It's an entry-level job, so buck up. And AJ says the line, right, focus on the good times. Isn't that what you said one time? Try and remember the times that were good. Tony says, I did. Now, Meadow, in the meantime, is having a hard time parking. It's a lot of tension. Now, David mentioned that it was just a young girl trying to parallel park.
I got to say, today when I watched it, that's what I felt. I didn't, there's tension. The only tension is that we know the last episode of this series is almost done. It's almost into an hour. There's no other. I don't know. Today I didn't feel the tension. I really feel. I agree. I agree with David. David's the one who wrote the thing, so he knows. But
Tony Soprano has his back to the door. The guy in the members only thing goes to the bathroom. Meadow comes in. The bell rings. You see the look on Tony's face. Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck with the cut to black, Andy? It's so fucking predictable.
No, it's not predictable. That's the only way we can possibly end it, Steve.
We said
that's
we
the
weren't
only
going to do
way.
that.
I never agreed to that. That's the only way to end it.